What is going on, everyone? Welcome into another edition of Titans Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down ESPN's 53-man roster projection for the Titans. So we're going to go through all 53 names that Mr. Davenport had making the final roster. We'll look at some notable cuts, some surprises in there, if you will. But before we get to all that, the biggest story right now for the Tennessee Titans is DeAndre Hopkins signed. No, not right now. That was a big story, but we do get our first glimpse of Hopkins in a Titans uniform today. But it is the throwback uniforms that have been announced. The Titans are wearing the Houston Oilers uniforms, and Texans fans are pissed. I understand both sides of the argument, but at the end of the day, who gives a shit? That's kind of my ultimate, takeaway from all this. But Texans fans are pissed, and if you're a Titans fan and a Texans fan is pissed, that sounds like a great day to me. So if anything I could do to piss off my rival, yeah, I'm not going to be too upset about that or regret it. But let me know. Do you like the throwback uniforms? Yes or no? We've got an awesome deal for you guys. We'll share with you later on in the video, but I want to get your raw opinion on it right now. Do you like the throwback unis they will be bringing back this season? Give me your thoughts down in the comment section. Now let's get into ESPN's roster projection for Tennessee. Starting in the quarterback room, no real surprise here. Tannehill, Willis, and Levis. Some people, myself included, thought Malik Willis might not make this roster if Tennessee wants to go with two quarterbacks and they don't see any improvement from Malik Willis. But they did get some improvement from Malik Willis during OTAs and minicamp, so he finds a spot on this 53-man roster projection. On to the running back room. Derrick Henry, Hassan Haskins, Tyjae Spears, and Julius Chestnut are the four backs that make the final roster in this projection article, and this seems pretty par for the course in my opinion. No real qualms or disagreements on my end from this. As for the wide receivers, it's a bit more interesting than the previous two. You have Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Chris Moore, and Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. All guys I would say are relatively locks to make the roster. Racey McMath is probably the next one. I'm not quite sure if I'm as confident with Racey McMath as I am with Westbrook-Ikhine or Phillips. One name that's somewhat notable-ish is this year's 7th-round pick out of Tennessee, Martin. 7th-round draft pick, like I said, and Davenport does not have him making the 53-man roster. It's not the first time a 7th-round pick would not have made the 53-man roster his rookie season. That's not too uncommon, but most GMs like to hold on to their draft picks, right? They only selected these guys a few months ago, and GMs can be a bit egotistical about their guys versus the previous regime's guys. So I wouldn't be too blown away if Ryan Carthon wants to hold on to all of his picks from this past draft because he selected these guys, and unless they look like complete bums in training camp, I'm sure a little bit of a pride factor will stick in. He goes, no, I want to hold on to my guys. There's a reason why I picked them. As for the tight end room, we've got Chig making it, Trevon Wesco, who came over from Chicago in free agency, Josh Whyle, and Kevin Rader. So 4 tight ends making this roster projection. I'm sure the Titans are going to want to run the football a lot this year, and that will incorporate an extra tight end, a blocking tight end, or sometimes to be used as a fullback. So those are the 4 tight ends via Davenport. But speaking of the number one guy on that list, is a breakout season coming for him this upcoming year. Type B for breakout, or type R for regression, or maybe just no vast improvement for 2023. I hope he's due for a breakout season. He ended the year on a high note last season. Hopefully that can trickle over and spill over into the start of 2023. As for the Hogs up front, the offensive linemen, just 8 making it, and we'll explain why. But Daniel Brunskill, a free agent signing, Peter Skoronski, a draft pick, and Andre Dillard, another free agent signing. Could you tell what Ryan Carthon had to do this offseason? It was improve the offensive line. He did it with 2 signings and their first pick in the NFL draft. Aaron Brewer, the starting center, of course. Jaelyn Duncan, a rookie. Jamarco Jones, Corey Levin, and Jordan Roos all making this roster. So Nicholas Petit-Frere is not on that list because he won't be on that list. He is suspended for the first 6 games of the season. He does not count against the 53-man roster. after his 6-game suspension is up, he will take someone's spot on that 53-man roster. And then Dylan Radunz, who ended last season with a torn ACL, also not on that list. That's not because he's getting cut or anything. It's more of a projection from ESPN that he'll start the year off on the PUP list. If you start the year on the reserve/PUP list, you have to miss the first 4 games of the 2023 season. So that's what ESPN is forecasting for the former North Dakota State lineman. On to the defensive line now. Jeffery Simmons, Denico Autry, Teair Tart, Naquan Jones. No real surprises there. Jaleel Johnson is definitely a bubble guy, and it's good to see him crack the 53-man roster in this projection. Sam O, also a bubble player that I'm just not as confident as I am with Autry or Tart or Simmons that they'll make the roster. Jaden Peavy is one recognizable name that was left off from that roster projection. The former Texas A&M Aggie only appeared in 1 game in 2022, but he does have some experience with this team in the facility, with this defense, so that is something to monitor and keep an eye on during training camp and preseason. Before we get on to the rest of the defense, I just want to give back really quickly to all of our viewers here. I just want to give some shout-outs to some of our recent subscribers. So Shair Hussein, shout out to you for subscribing. PM, Taiwan K, Kevin Poland, Josh Brady 12. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate your support. And hey, if you are looking to get on screen and you want to get a shout out on a future episode of Titans Today, hit that sub button. As for the outside linebackers, Harold Landry, Arden Key, Rashad Weaver, ish. And Caleb Murphy. Okay. Now we get a different, change of pace here between other 3 guys who were relatively locks to make this roster. Caleb Murphy, a UDFA signing this offseason, someone that the Titans are very excited for and had a really good training camp in preseason, cracks Davenport's 53-man roster in place of Zach McLeod. Went to Miami, started his NFL career off with the Minnesota Vikings. Then he made his way down to the Music City. He's got no career experiences, no NFL experiences, but he does have a UDFA making it ahead of him during Davenport's 53-man roster projection. As for the inside linebackers, Azeez Al-Shahir, Monty Rice, Chance Campbell, Jack Gibbons, and Luke Gifford, none of these catch me by surprise too much. If there's one name that I thought could be on there that's not on there, what about Ben Neiman? Last year, 70 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 fumble recovery. So that would be a name that I think would surprise some people, but by no means is this inside linebacker room just locked up. All 53 spots, or all 5 spots rather, for the off-ball linebacker position are sewed up and there's no battle to be had. This is definitely a room that towards the bottom of the depth chart, you got to show your value. And if it's not on defense, because let's be honest, once the season rolls around, your starters are going to play most of the snaps, then it's got to be on special teams. So which of these linebackers can show value on special teams? Now, before we get to the rest of the roster projections, there are new throwback uniforms on sale waiting for Titans fans. When you go to chatsports.com/Titans jersey, you can get this Derrick Henry throwback jersey. They have Simmons ones, Burks, Tannehill, pretty much all of your favorite players. So if you want to cop one of the brand new, or I guess it's not new, one of the brand new old throwback uniforms, get it today before the sale runs out. So get your hands on these bad boys. The link's in the comments and the description of today's video. As for the secondary, cornerback Christian Fulton, Roger McCreary going into his second year for sure. Sean Murphy-Bunting, a free agent signing. Elijah Molden, Trey Avery, Chris Jackson. There's not a notable name like a former first-round pick from Virginia Tech. Oh, that's right. The idea behind Fairley not making the initial 53-man roster is not so much of him getting cut. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Davenport is forecasting that. But instead, it's unfortunate that we sort of know it's coming, and that is more time in the trainer's room on IR. It's likely that Farley is going to start camp on the PUP list, and that could trickle into the regular season. So that's why he's not on the initial 53-man roster, because Davenport from ESPN believes he is going to be on the PUP list to start the season. Moving on to the rest of their roster projections, Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, we have Carter and Thompson rounding out the safety room. So that is ESPN's roster projection for the safety department. No real surprises here. I guess Mike Brown could have been one name that sneaks onto this, but ultimately does not. Last year, just one tackle, didn't have many big contributions. Started his career off, or it was before Tennessee rather, with the Minnesota Vikings. So that could be one name that catches some people by surprise. But outside of that, no, real big shocking developments in the safety room. And to round it out, special teams here, we go through the kicker position with Caleb Shudak. So he's in the kicker competition with a rookie, and this is what ESPN has it cooking out to be. I guess not quite incumbent, but somewhat. Caleb Shudak making it over the rookie. Ryan Stonehouse and Morgan Cox round out the special team unit for the Tennessee Titans. So grade their roster for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Down in the comment section below, let me know what kind of letter grade you are giving this roster. I think it's a B- roster in my eyes. I think it's a little bit better than what people are giving it credit for, but we really have to see this offensive line come through. And we have to see Andre Dillard look like a starting left tackle, something we have not seen yet in his NFL career. We got to see Peter Skoronski have an impact for rookie season, and Daniel Brunskill come over and be a good plug-and-chug player. So that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, taking time out of your day to come hang out with us, and we'll see everyone later.